You know, everyone has lots of ways of feeling, and all those ways of feeling are fine.
See, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't.
We all need someone. I'm constantly reminding people that if you have at least one person in this world, no matter where they are, who they are, to whom you can always go, and they always hand you open arms, you'll never need a psychiatrist.
I am a lover because I give you all that I am with no smoke screens.
Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Robbie here. Why is it that decent people who bring love into the world, like Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, George Carlin, and Leo Buscaglia, seem to die before their time and when they're really needed the most? It's a question people have asked in one form or another for thousands of years. It feels deeply unfair. Truth has many voices, and when one of those voices is gone, the responsibility doesn't disappear. It passes to us. Part of the reason is that people like Leo Buscaglia, Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, and George Carlin leave such a positive mark on us that when they die, we feel the loss much more intensely than we do for someone who spread anger or division. Their absence creates a vacuum. There's also a kind of survivorship bias in how we remember history. We remember the kind, gentle people who died relatively young because their deaths seem especially tragic, and at the same time, we can all think of cruel, selfish, or destructive people who've lived long lives. Nature doesn't appear to distribute lifespan according to moral character. Leo Buscaglia, Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, and George Carlin were what I call truth seekers and truth tellers. They were truth seekers because they each spent much of their lives trying to understand something fundamental about the human condition and sharing what they believed they had learned. And as truth tellers, they spoke what they sincerely believed to be true, rather than claiming that they possessed objective truth. George Carlin, for example, often challenged hypocrisy.
And of course, the country is founded on the double standard. That's our history. We were founded on a very basic double standard. This country was founded by slave owners who wanted to be free. Am I right? A group of slave owners who wanted to be free. So they killed a lot of white English people in order to continue owning their black African people so they could wipe out the rest of the red Indian people and move west and steal the rest of the land from the brown Mexican people, giving them a place to take off and drop their nuclear weapons on the yellow Japanese people.
Mr. Rogers spoke honestly about children's emotions.
This is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child, that feelings are mentionable and manageable.
Leo Buscaglia, he spoke from his experience of love and relationships.
We're always waiting for the right person to come along. And we say that when they come along, we will live happily ever after. Doesn't that make you want to puke? How old do we have to be before we realize that that's the most destructive myth? There's no such thing as happily ever after anything. It doesn't happen. And you're waiting for the right person. I guarantee you'll wait forever. Where's this right person? You know, there is no right person. We become the right person. That's the thing.
And Bob Ross encouraged people to let go of perfectionism because he believed that was emotionally healthier.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Just don't worry about it. Learn how to use what happens. Shoot. Take life easy. Just let it go.
So not only were they truth seekers and truth tellers, they were teachers, moral voices, humanists, and public philosophers. Mr. Rogers once said, there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is to be kind. The second way is to be kind. And the third way is to be kind. George Carlin said, "Scratch any cynic and you'll find a disappointed idealist." Whether or not that describes him perfectly, it reflects the idea that beneath his sharp criticism was a search for honesty. The difficult truth is that kindness doesn't protect someone from cancer, heart disease, or aging. The universe doesn't seem to reward goodness with extra years. But there's another way to look at it. While these men didn't live forever, their influence did. Every teacher who chooses patience because of Mr. Rogers, every artist inspired by Bob Ross to create without fear of mistakes, and every person who learned compassion from Leo Buscaglia is, in a sense, carrying a piece of them forward. They sought truth rather than popularity. They spoke honestly, even when it was unpopular. They helped people understand themselves and the world, and they left people feeling wiser, calmer, or more thoughtful. They're often missed most during times of fear, division, or uncertainty. George Carlin and Mr. Rogers had almost opposite styles, yet both encouraged people to think for themselves and to see beyond appearances. Bob Ross taught acceptance through painting. Leo Buscaglia taught it through love. Their methods differed, but each tried to illuminate some aspect of the human experience. Mr. Rogers also said, "The greatest thing we can do is to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving." Perhaps that's why they still feel so needed today, not because they failed to leave enough behind, but because the world will always need the qualities that they represented. Their lives were finite, but the example they set doesn't have to be. During difficult times, we want to hear from those people. Reading their words or watching old recordings isn't quite the same as knowing they're still here, responding to what's happening now. Imagine if Mr. Rogers were alive today. Many people would probably tune in just to hear him calmly explain a frightening event or remind us that kindness still matters. Or imagine Bob Ross reassuring people that mistakes aren't the end of the world. Or Leo Buscaglia encouraging people not to give up on love and human connection. Their presence itself would be comforting. George Carlin tried to wake people up through skepticism, satire, and blunt honesty. He challenged authority, questioned social norms, and encouraged people to think critically rather than simply accept what they were told. History shows us that during periods of uncertainty, people often look for steady, compassionate voices. When those voices are gone, we feel their absence more acutely because they offered something that's always in short supply: reassurance without manipulation and optimism without denying reality. The closest we have now is what they left behind. Mr. Rogers' programs are still watched by parents and children. Bob Ross's Joy of Painting continues to attract new viewers decades after it ended. Leo Buscaglia's lectures and books are still read because the problems they addressed, fear, loneliness, grief, and the need for love, haven't changed. I know it isn't the same as hearing them speak to today's headlines, but it's a reminder that the values they stood for don't depend on any particular era. Every generation has to rediscover and practice them, especially when times are difficult. So in a way, they were all trying to accomplish something similar. For Mr. Rogers, treat people with kindness and empathy. Leo Buscaglia, love is what gives life meaning. Bob Ross, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And George Carlin, question everything, especially those in power. Their methods couldn't have been more different, but all four encouraged people to think more deeply about how to live. During difficult times, it's natural to wish people like this were still around. Not because they would solve our problems, but because they had a unique way of helping us make sense of them. George Carlin would probably have a sharp, hilarious critique of today's politics and media. Mr. Rogers would remind us not to lose our humanity. Bob Ross would encourage us to keep creating despite the chaos. And Leo Buscaglia would remind us that love and connection are still worth pursuing. Each offered a different kind of wisdom, and that's why their voices are missed. Truth has many voices. Sometimes it sounds gentle, like Mr. Rogers. Sometimes it sounds encouraging, like Bob Ross. Sometimes it sounds passionate, like Leo Buscaglia. And sometimes it sounds angry and sarcastic, like George Carlin. But all of them, in their own way, were trying to point people towards something they believed was real. Truth has many voices. Some make us laugh, some comfort us, some challenge us, some inspire us. But when one of those voices falls silent, the need for truth doesn't disappear. The responsibility doesn't disappear. It passes to the rest of us.